nice to see you. Some familiar faces. And thanks for coming along for this exclusive and intimate gathering. Andrew and I are going to be talking a bit about some of the themes that were covered yesterday in some detail, but giving our own take on it and some personal experience about it. So hopefully it will prove to be of interest. So something that we've noticed, and I'm sure everyone after yesterday and today has also noticed, is that we've seen the opportunity with AI to really accelerate and do things at speed and scale, whether they're good or bad. But ultimately, it comes down to, so what? What are we trying to change here? And the engagement model is something that we've all had experience in for some time. And certainly, my experience, and Andrew, you've got your own experience as well, is that the model itself is fundamentally not fit for purpose. And I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Look, I think yesterday I was disappointed and a little angry at the number of people in the room that were talking about the fact that we were fragmented, that we were dealing in silos. There was one guy stood on stage celebrating the fact he'd had 24 years of a career in AstraZeneca through CRM, omnichannel and AI and not achieved anything, and almost mocking the industry we work in. I think we paid a lot of money when I was at AstraZeneca to change customer engagement for the better and to listen to people whining still about the fact that they don't feel the customer engagement model is working and expect AI to be the answer to that. I found that bizarre, and I think there's a lot of people who should be ashamed of themselves in this sector at the moment. I heard it at Pharmageddon as well. People see AI out of laziness. They think that it's going to automate everything. And then there was a guy talking about campaigns can get developed using AI, like copywriting can be done through AI. It staggers me that marketeers in pharma think that AI is going to give them the answer. Well, there's no empathy. The copy that video showed yesterday was dreadful. The creativity was dreadful. So when you're talking about, we can't use agencies, let's get rid of agencies now, Dan, I agree with what you talk a lot about. Creativity isn't something that can be replicated by AI. AI allows non-creative people to try and do the job that creative people do brilliantly. So AI is not something that should be used to remove creativity from campaigns. What I loved about what Tom's done at Endava, they use AI in such a more sophisticated way. And I think over the next 10, 15 minutes, let's disband the fact that what AI is allowing a lot of people in pharma to do is be bad at their jobs more efficiently, not deliver better customer engagement. And if I have a line, Dan, I like a line that people can take away, like the hypocrisy of patient centricity from last time. This one is this. AI allows bad people to deliver bad work efficiently. And that is something that I think, Tom, you're really passionate about changing that, aren't you?
No, absolutely. It also, I had a reflection yesterday as well with the word cloud at the beginning, I think, of the first main session when people were asked to assess their own homework effectively. And there was everything from chaos, fragmented, spray and pray. It was. I thought if we'd been at this conference 4 years ago and thinking, in 4 years' time, what are we going to be talking about our work over the next 4 years, and it's going to be chaos, that for me was a harsh reflection. So a couple of slides here, which I will speed through because we've been talked about quite a lot already, but ultimately having more channels didn't make us better at our jobs, and also that the pharma is still organised around the rep. Now, the rep absolutely has an essential role to play, and it was touched on a bit yesterday about deploying the humans at the right time to do the right job, and letting the machines do the right job at the right time as well. So it's a fundamental transformation which, frankly, has not been a strength of the industry in previous iterations, whether it's omnichannel, big data, CRM.
Yeah, and this is what I mean about the model being broken. So you can't use AI to fix a broken model. The customer engagement model is broken because the rep is still at the heart of everything that we do. Now, I've seen loads of slides from loads of different pharma companies, and they always try and say the HCP is at the heart of their omnichannel strategy, or the patient is at the heart of their omnichannel. Patient's never at the heart of anything that pharma does. The key thing for me is that the rep is still at the heart of everything. that Pharma does. And that's a bizarre concept because it's exactly the same concept that we had 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I told Tom this story about the fact that when I was at AstraZeneca, I won't tell you who it was, but it wasn't Pascal, but it was one down from him. He basically said to me, the problem you've got, Andrew, is that you cannot justify the role of digital within the sales process. And I said, just out of interest, how do you justify the role of reps then? Because if there's no attribution model that works in Pharma, and if anyone in this room has one, please tell me about it. I'd be fascinated to hear it. But he said, don't need to prove it because reps started Pharma. Reps sold for Pharma way before digital existed. And for that mindset, for the head of EMEA in AstraZeneca, it was Stefan. Right?
You can't keep a secret.
For him to say that for me is the biggest barrier that we've got to overcome. So the talent that we've got in this room and next door is exceptional. But the biggest barrier we've got within Pharma is that all of our bosses are all ex-reps. They're all middle-aged men who are all ex-reps, who've missed the beauty and the amazing stuff that you were talking about earlier, the customer engagement models, the way that digital can be used. And rep is always going to be at the heart of everything we do, which is a barrier for AI, right? Because if rep is all we're obsessed with doing, the budgets will stay with them, the engagement models will stay with them, because the HCPs will be forced to engage with them. One campaign I wanted to do at AZ that obviously got pulled was I said, let's email all our respiratory HCPs and say, you guys are absolutely rammed at the moment. We've created a beautiful website for you. For the next 6 months, we promise we will never email you, put a banner ad on doctors.net, or send a rep for 6 months. That's our promise to you to help you do your job better. And let Chiesi and GSK bombard you with all their crap, and we'll take ours off the table. And we're so close to doing that. And that's what HCPs wanted, but of course, AstraZeneca didn't want that. We still wanted to do it. Yeah. But that, I think, is what we've got to overcome, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And it's almost institutionalization of building metrics to be fulfilled by teams that is based on that model, rather than having a fundamental transformation. Now, change is difficult. We all understand that. We've all seen that ourselves. So to be able to apply AI in the same way as we've done everything else is going to end in the same way. I can't remember who said it originally, but doing the same thing and expecting a different result is lunacy.
Yeah.
So, and so what we're really thinking about is how do we, this has been spoken about at length as well, so I'm not going to dwell on it hugely, but about not necessarily having metrics around how many user journeys were completed and the 12 steps and the drop-off points and all the things that we've seen where we're trying to deliver campaigns effectively, but actually what's the thing that's going to make the difference? And that could be one interaction, but in the right way. And that's the opportunity that we have with the tools available to us now, is to hyper-personalize and make it something that stays with that target customer and has that meaningful interaction.
Yeah, and that data, that's where I was excited when we did that hackathon. Did a hackathon for Endava, where we started analysing all the data. The biggest barrier I had at AZ was not the existence of the data, it was the extrapolation of any story out of it. And that's where I see AI as something that's going to benefit non-technical marketeers like myself. I'm not a digitally savvy guy. I am not 40, but older than that. So you can't rely on people to be digital natives when they're in the 40s. Right? We've got a whole generation of people who are starting to utilise digital in a different way than we were using it, and we're still heralded as the pioneers within Pharma. I think the key thing for me, where it's really exciting, is that next best interaction was always the Holy Grail. So someone talked about yesterday about the Holy Grail being a seamless customer journey. Bollocks, I don't agree with that whatsoever. The way McDonald's engage with me, it's not seamless. I get different pieces of marketing collateral throughout my entire existence, and one of those will prompt me to go buy a Big Mac or to go a breakfast. There's not a seamless omnichannel journey in there. Like your book, I think, is exceptional about bringing omnichannel to life. And these seamless customer journeys, there's no need for those anymore. But what we do need to do is start extrapolating out all of the great insights and nuggets that AI can give us to understand how Dr. Isabel is going to engage with AstraZeneca in a different way to Dr. Neil. And that, I think, is really exciting. I think that's some of the stuff that you're touching on, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it's really about helping us to make better decisions faster and be data-driven rather than assumption or experience-driven. And that's really a fundamental change. And also, it's something that leadership teams are more and more asking for in terms of whether it's coming with a funding decision, whether it's a change in approach. We've got to be data-led and actually have the evidence to be able to prove that it's the right thing to do. And that's really where we take that.
And this is Tom's, but I'm definitely stealing it. This is what I love, right? So the guy from Ipsen yesterday was talking about how quickly you can create a marketing campaign. Right? I fundamentally disagree with that, because what he's doing is he's saying, I can show you how to efficiently create more noise, but there's such lacking in sophistication around how to engage with HCPs, how to engage with human beings, right? So we don't want more content and more noise. We want more intelligence to allow us to make better decisions in how to prompt a HCP into the behaviour that we want. Every single person in this building has one objective, right? And it's to sell more drugs. Now, there's people who find that offensive, people don't like hearing it. Some people see themselves, certainly AstraZeneca, almost like a philanthropic, patient-centric organisation. But pharma's job is to sell more drugs. So if you work for an agency for a pharma, your job is to help them sell more drugs. If you work in the brand team at a pharma company, your job is to help sell more drugs. If you work in med affairs when you're at GSK, your job is to sell more drugs. It's not to educate and empower. That's how you sell more drugs. So if we can get people, if we can prompt or influence or change or nudge or motivate or activate or whatever politically correct word you want to use, the key thing is we are trying to get a doctor to stop prescribing GSK's drug and start prescribing AstraZeneca's drug. And that isn't by dumping more content on them, especially crap content that's got long hyphens in there and Oxford commas. And in a world where trust is a big issue for us in pharma, and then we're churning out content that hasn't been human instigated, I find that such a bizarre concept that people would think AI is the answer to overcoming the trust issues we've got. So Tom, that line, I think, is the takeaway. Like you said, let's have a takeaway from your workshop, which I loved. That is the takeaway for me. It's less content, less noise, more intelligent, allow us to make better decisions in how to make doctors behave how we want them to behave. Because if they do that, then we'll achieve our ultimate objective within this entire industry, which is to help sell more drugs, which has a great knock-on effect that means that we can invest more in R&D in creating more life-saving products.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's a fundamental sort of change to the way that we approach this. And there's a lot on this slide, so don't worry too much about it. But I think that the thing that certainly we use as a methodology to help organisations to understand what the next best thing to do is, what the next meaningful thing to do is actually trying to use the technology in a bespoke and meaningful way to be able to understand where are the signals, where should we be focusing our time and effort, and be able to iterate that quickly and effectively in a meaningful way. But also, the one I love the most is the creator memory, because the life cycle, the budget cycle, the leadership, those all change. But what actually persists should be the way that you're engaging with a customer and helping them to make better decisions about their treatment plans.
I love that one, Tom.
Yeah. Well,
understanding the signals. Like the only insights we get are these like bullshit reports from across, where they basically say, "Oh, like doctors like getting emails." No one ever chooses a channel, right? They choose the content that's on the channel, and the content within that channel should be created by the signals that AI can inform us on and allow us, as supposedly intelligent people who are all paid a lot of money, to make human decisions based on the insights that AI can give us. Should never have the answers given to us by AI. So I love that, Tom, that you put there. Signals is so important.
No, it totally is, and that's where we spend a lot of time. And I know we're almost at our time, so really, I wanted that takeaway to be thinking about how can we be more meaningful about what we do, and actually think about one thing that we want to change. What's in the approach, what are the questions you've got now, this year, strategy and approach, and think about how can I've got an idea this works, but how do we prove it? And that's where we're spending a lot of time, both with customers and also our technology partners as well. How can we prove one outcome? And if you scan the QR code, we've got an example of that, which we did in medical affairs earlier this year. which Andrew was very kindly was on the judging panel with as well, along with other colleagues from other companies. And we feel it's a tried and tested and effective way of helping advance and make better decisions about what's next and the best way to approach this. Okay.
Excellent. And I think if we can have one last thing, this time next year when that poll comes up, instead of people being like, oh, everything's fragmented or everything's silos, let's now have that poll being like, we're confident in the decisions we're making, our budgets are being spent well, our content strategy is genuinely leading to change in HCP prescribing behaviour.
Yeah, making a difference.
Then we'll all be happy and I won't stand here ranting.
Because no one wants that. All right. Well, thanks very much.